Episode 21 of Light on Leeds podcast features Cleve Freckleton as my guest. Cleve is a musician, singer and a teacher, and his genuine passion for what he loves is lovely to hear. Have a listen. So welcome to episode 20 of Light on Leeds podcast. Today we've got Cleve Freckleton. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming along. Kieran O'Malley told me that you'd be a brilliant guest.
Kieran, he doesn't know what he's let you in for, does he? He's not let you know.
So have you always lived in Leeds?
No, actually, I've got a roundabout journey. I never say this loud, but I was born in the south.
Oh.
I grew up in London, Jamaican parents, but at 9 years old I went to live in Jamaica for 4 years, so I didn't come to Leeds till I was a teenager. So London, Jamaica, Leeds, roundabout journey, but Leeds has been home for a long time, and this is what I consider home. In fact, when I do go back down south to visit family and stuff, I can't wait to get away. So yeah. I realise now that I'm a converted Yorkshireman.
Glad to hear that. So can you tell us about a little bit of the work that you do with music?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I mean, my background, I grew up, my mum and dad, particularly my daddy played guitar and piano and sang. My mum sang and played a little bit of piano. I have two older brothers who played and a younger sister. So I grew up in a full musical environment. That was supplemented by the fact that we would go to church, Pentecostal church, 2-3 times a week, including all day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And in that environment, there were a lot of musicians playing. So whether I was in London, that was mainly playing at home. That's before I started playing at church. When I got to Jamaica, my dad bought a piano for the church we were going to, so I had a regular outlet to play, and I played a bit of guitar as well. And when I came to Leeds as a teenager, the church I went to in Leeds was full of musicians, some older, including my two older brothers. So there was people to learn from. Leeds, and in particular Chapeltown, was filled with bands. It was incredible. You know, when I think about it now, you know, there were 3 reggae bands alone. And that's just reggae, so not to mention the rock and the steel band, you know. Yeah. So I can remember you could hardly walk past a street and there wasn't a band rehearsing somewhere. Some of these were my contemporaries, some were older. I think at 14 I was as well as playing in church, which was a regular thing, and church choirs and church groups. I started playing in a reggae band around that age. But at school, where oddly enough I didn't do music because I really didn't like the way it was presented.
Right, yeah.
At school, I ended up playing in a rock band, as a bass in a rock band, and the 2 guys who I were playing with, who were still friends, two friends to this day. We were playing things like Whitesnake and AC/DC and Def Leppard, and you know, all stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, that musical education coming from all sorts of different areas, hearing different things, was a huge part of my musical education. Mm-hmm. So what I say to people now, what you see now is actually the sum of and the product of a lot of years of different things. Radio was a huge influence when I was a kid, because there wasn't as much music on television. You get Top of the Pops and Old Grey Whistle Test Baby and something like that. Yeah. But then I was listening to, I think Radio 1 was kind of like the dominant station, so I'd hear a lot of rock, bass music and pop music. But I remember there was a station called Radio Luxembourg, and they used to play kind of alternative stuff. And then John Peel was another influence, because he would hear music you wouldn't hear on the other stations on him. So I think that the environment, the fact that I grew up in this church environment, which I sometimes I want to step away from the religious element of that in particular and say, in terms of music, that was a pure baptism, because actually you learned to play a little bit of everything. You had to use your ears. The classic example I say to musicians was very few things were written down. You might have a hymn, but most things were committed to memory. So this week, if you started the song, it might be in B flat. Mm-hmm. But next week, when my dad starts it might be in E. And you had to learn. You had to learn, find your way around. And because there was so much competition, if you weren't good, you lost your seat. So you worked hard to stay, you know, and I was telling someone the other day, I remember going to rehearsals up in Hyde Park where the church was, on a Saturday, I'd walk from Chapel Tire Park, which is going to be a couple of miles involved in that, I would think, through Woodhouse. We'd be up there to 12 o'clock in the afternoon, didn't matter whether it was winter or summer, and in the winter, our church was cold because we couldn't afford to put the heating on and everything.
Yeah.
And we would rehearse from, maybe 12 to 5 or 6 in the evening, and the diet was based on going to the local shop at the top of the road and buying custard creams and a pint of milk. You know what I mean? And that was your lunch. But it was a labour of love. And today I'm still playing, so I guess it was worth it for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And did you say that you're involved in a gospel choir at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm just starting one now. So for 9 years I ran a choir based in Leeds, and that started out of actually what happened was I'd always played in bands, and I reached after 10 years of running my band, I could feel like I wanted a change. So I just two things changed in my life. Basically, one, I started busking. That's the first time and bearing in mind I was in my 40s, so that's quite a...
When you started busking?
Yeah, considering I've all the decades of playing.
Yeah.
So going to busking before, it was a huge move for me, and I can categorically say to this day, still my favourite thing.
Really?
Yeah, without any question.
Like meeting people.
Oh, it's incredible. I played all over the world. I played in stadiums, pubs, clubs, bars, houses, tents, everywhere. Yeah. And I still say there is nothing like going out to busk. It's in fact, I went to Norwich over the weekend, and I actually went to see a friend. But I knew the weather was going to be good, so I took my keyboard down on Monday and just went into town. And I remember the adrenaline and the butterflies, which it's really good that I can still get it at this age, you know what I mean? I thought, I'm going to do something new. Well, I went into the town and I was just myself, and I loved it. I met some beautiful people, had some wonderful conversations, and I made some money. And I can't think of anything greater than that. So, the choir thing had started in that period where I was unsure what I wanted to do, but what I always do remember is I've always loved the gathering of voices. There was something really powerful. So if one person can make a statement and it be really powerful, if you have 100 people making the same statement, how much more powerful is that?
Yeah, you're right.
And that's how I think about vocal, particularly singing. There's something to be said about that. So I did that for 9 years, and last summer, for a year, I kind of felt like I was winding down with it. I could feel the change, because I could feel the change in what I was doing. I was travelling more, and I was thinking, I'm gonna stop doing this choir thing. The choir's still continuing, which I'm really glad, because I didn't start it for it to end. The reason why I started it, because I know people love to gather and sing, and we had the privilege to play on festivals, to record. There were all sorts of great things came out of it. So I'm really proud of that, but I knew it was time for a change, and I'd moved house and sort of just moved out the area, but within weeks I could feel that itch again, and I thought, what do I want to do? And in recent years, for the last 7 years, I've been travelling to France regularly, to Avignon, to do some gospel music, part of a project I've been working on, but that has led me to going to Belgium and to Israel recently.
Wow.
And because of that, I realised I'd forgotten how much I loved gospel music. Mm-hmm. It's really come back to me really recently, and like I said, I'm not stating a religious aspect here. I'm really staying clear of that for lots of different reasons. Mm-hmm. It's just the power of that music. There was something, and for really obvious reasons, particularly, I'm not royalist in that way, but the royal wedding came up with the gospel choir there, and it's awoken a chapter in many people's lives. Then all of a sudden there's much more inquiries about it. People want to know a bit more. But for me, that was a huge part of my life, a musical life growing up. And I still have a love for... There was an era between the recordings of the 70s when I heard a lot of American choir gospel, going right through to the 90s, so I would hear things like, Oh Happy Days, the classic one that everyone kind of relates to. But I often say to them, if you heard that song sung in church, it wasn't half as joyful. It was really different. So these were great musicians, who came from the gospel background, but they began to, if I use the word, infiltrate the pop and the popular market world, and music and religious music began to take a different hold. Those same musicians the likes of your Aretha Franklin's, your Sam Cooke's, you know, they had that background, and the truth is they had to go for a bit of being maligned from the main church stream, you know, for stepping out and doing it.
Really? Yeah.
Al Green, the likes of them, you know, but the truth is they brought something to the forum in a way, and a lot of the music we hear, particularly that's come from, that is blues bass, or whether it's rock music, you know, or you listen to blues, or even, you know, jazz to a degree, a lot of the R&B we hear, the roots of that are in gospel music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's a powerful form. So I really was excited to be engaging with this music again, because like I said, I've been travelling and doing it, but I hadn't done it here for so many years. So I think it was last year, September, I just put out a post and said I'm going to start a choir, and yesterday I had my first meeting with some of the people who are interested, and hopefully I'm hoping to have some auditions next month, and then hopefully we should be up and running by March.
Excellent. And that's open to anybody to
open to anyone. The real, for me, the only qualification you need is the desire to sing.
Yeah.
How, you know, I have auditions because it helps me to judge the quality of what I have, but it's not of you're not allowed or you are allowed. I have never believed, and I will never believe, that anyone has the right to tell you you can or you can't sing. Right? That's not in the human remit. No way. And the idea that we have shows that's based on somebody says, well, yeah, you're this, you're that. Well, you know what? I understand the concept of that, but for me, that's entertainment. That's nothing to do with singing and what it really means. You know? And I, particularly for me, my mum suffered with depression when I was growing up, and I was well aware of that. But I was also constantly aware of the effect singing would have. If I came home from school and the curtains were closed, I knew she couldn't face the world, and I wouldn't bother. I'd know that, you know, Mum was having a day. But if I came in and I heard her singing, I knew she'd crossed over something. And I associated very early in my life singing with something joyful, a release.
That's lovely.
And I still to this day, I've done some work for the NHS with young people with mental health issues through music. I've worked in schools. I worked in a special school in Bradford, doing that for a while. I'm confident about the power of singing. And something about choirs, getting groups of people together. You know, individually they may not have all the skills that you would want to require from, you know, a great singer, but collectively you can't resist that power. There is something
just beautiful about it, isn't there?
I love it. I really do. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's so the choir things is going to be able to, and I'll post more information up, you know, as we go along. But it's something I'm very keen on. Also, because I travel a lot, I'm looking forward to taking the choir abroad to go to do, you know, it's something. I'm very, because I've been a part of this. I was, you know, laughing and joking with someone yesterday about, I feel like I'm rent-a-director, because I go off everywhere and start choirs or do workshops with choirs, and this is all over the world. You know, I lived in America for a while where I did that too. So it seems kind of crazy to me that I've been doing all that, yet still I haven't had a choir where I can say, tell you what, let's come along and do this. So that's really where the ambitions lie with this. I want it to be a project that grows and prospers. And of course, all the things I said formally about what singing should mean would always stand. But also, I'd like it to be an adventure for those involved there, involve themselves in a specialist form of music in some ways. And I would love people to experience that feeling that I did from being young and still enjoy it to this day. I'd love people to be a part of that.
And it's a great way for people to get together, isn't it? You know what I mean? That sort of camaraderie, and you're all in it together, and in times when we can all be very separate and isolated, it's lovely to get together with a group of people, and, you know, you've just got one common interest, and it's singing, and then your interests that you share will get bigger and bigger.
It's one of the most beautiful things. I watched, when I started the formal choir, Voices of the Day, I remember the first meeting there were 14 people. 6 weeks after forming, we sang at the Headingley Jazz Festival.
Oh, lovely.
In fact, I took that festival gig before the choir was formed. Right? I remember Jip Damone, who's at Salvo's restaurant, he he approached me. He's a musical colleague for many years as a DJ, and actually he was involved in the production of one of the first albums I was ever involved with. And Jippin said to me, "Oh, we're doing this event at Leeds Jazz Festival. I was wondering if you could, if you wanted to get something together, a group, a band." And at the time, I was thinking about a choir. And I remember that rehearsal. In fact, my two youngest children were in the choir at the time, and they can tell you now they were 12 and 9 respectively, or 11 and 9, something like that respectively. And I've got some video footage and some pictures. I look back and still smile at it now. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that 6 weeks after we started, that was the first gig. We had 4 songs. And you'll soon find out through this podcast how I can make things last forever. Right? So those 4 songs lasted 40 minutes, right? And it's because I know exactly what I'm doing, how to present it, and from that point we never looked back. A year later, we were singing at a festival, Lime Tree Festival, up at Grewelthorpe, and what I remember about that was the choir at that point was 80 odd people, I think, so in 1 year. And then the following year, when we performed again at the festival on the Jason Ray stage, the membership was 128 at that point. Yeah. So in 2 years, that's how it grew. And as with anything, there's a reason it gets bigger or it gets smaller. But I still, in fact, the young man who I was with yesterday, talking with, John McGrath, he performed at both those festivals as still as my young student, And I remember I was talking to him about that yesterday, and he was saying how he remembers that feeling. I said, "Yeah, there's nothing like being in a group of people, a big group of people, socially, but with a singular aim, right? Using songs that have strong meaning and strong purpose, because that's something I'm very mindful about. Even when I say gospel, it's not because I'm necessarily singing about Jesus or God, it's the idea of what these songs mean, the inspiration behind them. So words are very important. And if you affirm things loud and clear enough, and it's reiterated by a group of people, it begins to take a form. Yeah. That's when you feel something when you go somewhere. Yeah. So not only are the people in the choir feeling surrounding it, but the people who are listening to him are picking up on that choir feeling. All of a sudden you get this swell of emotion. Yeah. And if you happen to go to particularly to churches where gospel music is a feature, it's one of the first things you notice. It's the way people are drawn in by this feeling. Yeah, and it radiates out, doesn't it? It's really hard to resist. And it's like I said, this is not about whether you believe in God or not. It's not that. It's the power of this thing. Yeah. And if you, for me, it seems like a simple thing. But if I was in an environment where I was ill at ease or in dis-ease, something around music would change things around. It would move things. It begins to attend to wounds that we have that sometimes we're not even conscious of. The little hurts and pains that we have. That's what music does. The waves of it operate like that. There's surgery going on without you even realising it. There's no anaesthetic needed. Gospel music will do the trick. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, they use music in all sorts of different therapies, don't they? And I mean, with Alzheimer's patients and things like that, and it's amazing what it can do. I worked in a special school in Bradford, and I found out the power of nursery rhymes really, really quickly. Yeah. Right? Because they asked me if I would. Basically, my job was to do music for the children. So I looked at nursery rhymes, the combinations of them, the way they were written, the music that was behind them, but again, particularly to look at the words. And then I began to sing these, nursery rhymes to these children, and I realised they're incredibly effective. And I've done so much so that in the school I decided I wanted to do an album with the kids. Yeah. Just again, I'm going to use the word a proud achievement, because before I went there, my vision of what I could have done was really narrow. I had no formal training in that particular field. It was a teacher who believed in me, the headmistress, and asked me to come to the school. I remember when I first went, I thought, what am I going to do? Yeah. So lost. But it didn't take me long to realise I didn't need to do anything. Music would do everything for me. And very soon afterwards, like I said, as I began to sing and play, I saw the effect. And then within that time, I thought, you know what, I want to do an album. And I remember one particular girl. she couldn't vocalise things in the way that you'd say a singer did. But what I remember about her, and I still see her face to this day, she would move her eyes to the speed of the music.
Oh, really?
And that really struck me. So when I came to doing the album, and I said, which children do you want, you know, and I got the dinner ladies, the bus drivers, I got everyone involved. Yeah. And for me, you know, you can't be in charge of those kids and not set the example. That's something I'm really stringent about when I'm working with. I think the adults have got to set that, you know, it goes for teachers and everything. Mm-hmm. Don't ask of if you're not going to do, you know. So it was really, I was so pleased. The bus drivers, you know, when I said to them, I come and see some of their faces were like, ooh, whoa, but they all roped in, you know what I mean, and seen them in the studio with the little earphones on, you know, it was great. But yeah, they did. It was, but they were. I wanted to say to them that this is a school album. It's not just a children. Everyone has to take part. Yeah. But I remember this particular girl, when they asked who I wanted, I asked if I could have her in, and they were saying, no, you know, you sure you want her? I said, yeah. I said, she's contributing in a way I can't explain. But I don't need to hear her voice for that. I can feel her spirit in that already. She's a part of that. And that's what, like you say, whether, you know, people are in, the people who've been in comas, they've played music to and things like that, you know, and they've seen the change in them. And I'm a total believer in that. Absolutely 100%. And I have said this openly. I think I'm the most insane person in the world. Right? The only reason why I operate and still write is music.
That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's brilliant. And so you were telling about that you've made music for dancers, and that was quite different for you?
Oh, so at the moment there's a project going on with Northern Ballet.
Oh, wow, I love Northern Ballet.
Yeah, and a friend of mine had recommended, I put my name forward, and there's a project called Black Waters. I'm
going to see that in a couple of weeks. I can't wait.
I'll see you there.
Oh, really?
I'll see you there. Right, so I was aware of one of the incidents. So the Black Waters is about 2 incidents in the British Empire, during the time of the British Empire. One related to the Afro-Caribbean transatlantic slave trade, the other one to the uprisings in India. Mm-hmm. Without going into the detail of them, they both, in the fact it's called Black Water, involves people crossing somewhere. Mm-hmm. Now, when I was approached, I remember going to a meeting, and what was so beautiful was I went into the meeting, the two of the other practitioners, so the lady who was dealing with the dance for the Caribbean and the guy who was doing the music and the Indian side of it, were both school friends.
It's like it was meant to be.
Yeah, so there was something about that right from the beginning. There was a buzz, right? And then I went to another meeting where the researchers came back with the... So I went away when they told me about it and read up about the incidents. And I was blown away, and I could see, you know, what they were trying to do. But the brief for me was, we want you to work with 2 lots of school children to help them create music for this performance. And this big performance taking place in March, because it's the educational element of it. Yeah. And I've worked in schools for years. None of that would, you know, deter me. But also I realised that I was going to have to help these young people to attain professional standards of playing, you know, in order to do a show. So that was the challenge. And the greater challenge was, up until now, I've always made music in the sense of I'm not creating a song, you know. I've never had to create music. I have done once for a little video for somebody who'd done something, but I'd never really created music for anything outside of that. So again, it was a challenge, actually. Wow, I'm doing music for dancers for 3 particular scenes. I'm having to look at what the dancers are doing, you know, the kind of beat they work out, and then create music to fit that.
So you have to look at their movements.
Movement, and everything. So I got a brief from the dancers. We've got this scene, this is what we're going to do. We need this type of music. So I would go away, and I started working out with the young people. I've been in schools for the last 2-3 weeks with them now, and I will be doing this every week bar the holiday period right through to the end of March. So but the beauty of that is I also discovered musical talent within the school.
I bet, yeah.
And I've gotten onto a couple of them, you know. I was thinking, wow, well, this person here, they've got a little something, you know, something I can work with. So I'm really pleased, because I do think music has suffered in schools a bit.
Yeah, lack of funding. It's such a shame, isn't it? Think of all the musicians that we may never find because they were never given an opportunity.
And you know what? I work with. I've got a young student. She's 7 years old. I've been working with her for just short of a year. Now. That young girl can really play Nina Simone's Play and Sing. Nina Simone's My Baby Just Cares, right? Wow. So 7 years old. Check this. In school, she gets 20 minutes of a keyboard lesson a week.
Oh my goodness.
Right? She has to wait 2 years to be ready for an exam. Now we're looking at this and thinking, at 7 years old, if she can play a Nina Simone piece already, right? From her ear, why does she have to wait 2 years for the sake of 20 minutes a week?
Yeah.
But that's it's part of the cost. Although the cost in her particular, I don't think is the biggest issue. It's the fact that that's what's on offer. So when I went to work at Roundley School, I remember the brief for me was a lot of the children aren't taking up what was GCSE music at the time, and they want to kind of encourage them to go through. I think part of the problem was the teaching, that's my honest opinion. But I remember going to school and realising that they weren't being engaged in a way, and I can't. Well, I do understand it because I wasn't engaged with music at school. Yeah, I didn't. I chose not. I chose not to do it because of the way it was presented to me. In fact, I tell a story about this music thing on purpose. The first piece of homework I got for music at high school was based on we had to draw an orchestra pit and where the instruments were in the orchestra pit. Now, you could argue and say that's a fair assignment, except I'm the worst at drawing.
Yeah, so you're good at
So
music.
you can see what I mean. So straight away, the deterrent was there. I'm not good at drawing. Now, I've often said, if the teacher said to me, I want you to go home, and I was really playing bass in a rock band at school, so I want you to go home and learn the bass line for Thriller or something. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, I'd have been all over that, right? I'd have been the first one in class, waiting at the door for Sir to turn up, right? And the last one to leave, right? And that's just a reflection. I was at a school on Wednesday. The school project dealing with the Black Waters thing was supposed to finish at 4:30, so from 3 till 4:30. At 4:30, they were saying to me, "Can we do it one more time, sir?" I hate them calling me sir, by the way, but I was rules and all that nonsense, right? So I said, "Can we do it again?" And I remember smiling, and I said to a teacher afterwards, "How often have you heard children say, can we stay a bit longer in this class and do a bit more maths?"
It's not going to happen, is it?
Can I do a bit more history, please? So again, if that can be tapped into, and these young people as part of this Black Waters project, I'm excited about it because I'm actually going to be conducting probably up to 25 musicians, 2 drummers, 2 bass players, a lot of percussion, steel pans, everything that's going to reflect. So I'm majorly excited about this idea of making music, challenging me to make music in a way I haven't done it before, but also kind of with one of my passions, which is working with young people and giving them a platform to make them realise. I often say, I can't tell you you're going to have a professional life doing this, right? But I promise you'll have a profitable life doing this.
It'll mean such a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also being involved in ballet, which can often be seen as sort of, a very highbrow sort of thing. Yeah, no, actually, there's, even within music, there's, that's a look at certain elements of it. Oh, it's a classical, so it's this, Oh, he's only a punk rocker, so he's down there, For me, the emotion is the leveler. And that's what I think. So regardless of what the form of music is, obviously I was talking about gospel music before, but I have a love for blues, I have a love for reggae, I have a love for jazz in different ways. I hear different. When I play, the range of music that I play is based on what I love. So I don't have a style or a genre that I tend to. There is some music that is I hear in some ways more than others, but I've had the real opportunity to work with musicians of different culture and different creeds, and I've learned fairly quickly how beautiful making music is, regardless of who's making it. I knew he'd have to meow at some point.
I love it. But yeah, I'm really excited by that idea. You know, it's music. We're making it, like I said, for dancers. It's some of this stuff I'm watching. The idea that I'm getting young people to challenge themselves and tell them what the brief is, like I said, and sitting with them, going through things with them, instilling confidence in them, you know, in some things as well. I could see there was one girl, her voice is incredible, but she isn't particularly confident. And I realised, wow, my brief straight away, I need to make this young person feel at ease. There was a young lady from who I was at school who had come from Syria, and she'd not been in school a long time. She didn't have a lot of English, and I know she was not at ease in the initial environment. And I thought, you know what, I like a good Marine, I'm not leaving anyone behind. You know what I mean? So I remember going to her and talking to her about it, and then I sort of started to speak to her about what music she listened to, because I realised that in order to make her feel a part of that, I have to know more about her too and about what she's doing. So once she started telling me about some of the music she listened to in Syria and stuff, that awoke at me and actually made me do a little bit of research. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to find a way to incorporate an instrument or something in this music so I can engage her too. And that's my brief. I think it was Matthew Fox, the actor, who said he's dyslexic. So for an actor, that's a big deal, you know, for a script. And he's got this saying's attributed to him. I hope it is him. It says, if a child can't learn the way the teacher teaches, then the teacher must teach the way the child learns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
and that for me, that says everything about how I feel about, you know.
Yeah, because you're finding her a way that she can connect. You're finding that connection point.
Yeah, and we have to, you know, otherwise we're leaving people behind.
Yeah.
And I'm not. There are some subjects we can argue about, you know, people's level of understanding. For me, you know, would I deny Stevie Wonder a place at music college because he can't read music? You know,
no, exactly.
Probably not. You know, probably not. You know, but I do it to Ray Charles. You're not coming in. You know, and it's just, you know, that idea that, you know, barriers are presented.
We're all human beings, and we've all got something to contribute, haven't we?
Without any question. And like I said, to me, one of the beautiful things I loved about doing the formal choir was I didn't have any auditions. Because the idea was nobody's disqualified. Yeah. Yeah, as long as you want to sing, this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've watched people have come to me and they said to me, you know, have come or left the choir after so many years, or come and join, and I'll ask them what their experience was, and they'll say, well, you know, I used to sing, but then this happened, or somebody told me my voice wasn't good at school, you know, and they lose courage, and, you know, and then they come back after so many years, you know, and then they join and they realise it's great. Or people who have been in the choir and I've had to leave for different reasons will say, you know what, this has been one of the greatest experiences in my life. And for me, it's nothing that I've done. All I've done is taken something that we all have access to and present it in a way that we can all enjoy. Yeah,
but you've given access to so many people, haven't you? You know what I mean? Yeah. That sounds like it's your role, you know what I mean? To pull people together and to give them, to inspire them and give them confidence.
Yeah, I love that. I do. I have to say that's the bit that, you know, I must say, it's like I love cooking, right? So my thing is, the thing about food is everybody likes some food, right? So it's personal. If I know you like something, I'm going to go all out to cook it the best way I can. Yeah. Because the idea of seeing a smile, or the warmth that you get from watching someone enjoy something that you do, I don't think that can be measured.
No, I think you're right. Yeah,
I don't think it can be measured at all. And I still, my youngest daughter once, I went to great lengths to make some corned beef hash. I thought, I haven't made this in years. We used to have it at school. I made some corned beef hash, and I remember I took all day, priding myself cooking. They've come up from school. I remember I was getting ready to serve it. I said, what's for dinner? I said, corned beef hash. No, you know, well, we've never had that before. And I remember my daughter looking at me and she went, that looks like cat food. No offence there, man. Honestly, that's what she was saying. It was cat food, right? But it was, you know, I laugh and joke at that because I was saying to her, I can't believe how gutted I am, right? I spent all day thinking I was doing my best. Children, honestly. Yeah, but just, you know, like I said, the reason why I say that is I love this idea of doing for others, because actually not selfishly, but truthfully, I like something to be done for me too. I can't deny that.
Yeah.
But the payback of a smile, what a reward that for doing something that you brought something to somebody's life that's brought a smile to them.
And it's not that difficult to do, is it? You know what I mean?
Just a bit of time.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of time.
Time, better care.
Yeah, and we can do that in the world that we live in. You know, it could be just that, you know, I was in the supermarket the other week and it's like they said, "Oh, can you just take that thing off the top shelf?" And it was just a pleasure to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, well, of course I would. Is there anything else you want me to do? Because, you know, to me, she couldn't reach that shelf, but I was in a position to. So if I can, I should do for.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all of us have that ability in different
we
ways.
Do.
Yeah.
That's a great philosophy to have.
Yes.
And I imagine that you've seen quite a lot of smiles at Christmas.
Oh, where's this going?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal a secret, but I did see that you were very involved in Christmas.
We won't tell the children, okay? We won't tell the children. But I'm Rasta Claus.
Is that something you've been doing for a long time?
Yeah, actually, the story is as I mentioned, I worked at a special school some years ago in Bradford. In fact, I don't even like to use that word special. It's an extra special school.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
I went to an extra special school in Bradford. The teachers asked me one day if I would be Santa. The role was never going to be a problem in terms of what Santa can do. That's cool, you know. I'm totally fair with that. The issue for me was actually how those young people would process the Santa image, to my image, and this isn't necessarily a black and white thing. I'm still talking about the image of Santa, which the current one that we see was actually kind of first presented by Coca-Cola, right? So
it's very cynical.
Yeah, so you know what? I get the ideas. A round, jolly-faced guy, you know, with spectacles. Actually, that's lovely. Who doesn't, you know? Put Uncle Ben on a packet of rice. He looks like a good guy. I'd like Uncle Ben to be my uncle. You know, it's fine. You know. So we are always using images, and I'm not here to criticise any of that. But because that became so popular, the image of what he looked like, I was concerned that the children might struggle, bearing in mind that within these extra special needs, there's different concepts of how people view things, and I was also aware of how change could affect them sometimes, you know, if we changed a room or something like that, you know, had different effects. So I was kind of concerned. So it became a discussion, and I remember saying to them, "Tell you what, I'll do this." But and it was a joke. It really was a joke. I was like, "Well, tell you what, we'll call him Rasta Claus because I've got dreadlocks." So that's fair enough. So then it was great. Parents came along. The parents loved it. They just loved the idea. And and to my shame, the kids didn't seem any way deterred at all. You know, so it wouldn't have mattered how, just I guess. But what it did, it kind of stimulated an appetite. But the idea was it was going to be done in school. That was, you know, I had no intentions outside of school with that. 3 years ago, one of my friends who runs like a children's like entertainment thing called Bum Chicka Bum, she messaged me and said, "I'm looking for someone to be Santa." And I remember messaging back and said, "You know what, I can do this, but I've got this character and I kind of prefer to do that." And she was so encouraging with it. She said, "Yeah, that's just perfect, Cleve. Will you come along and do that?" And I remember did a couple of events, and the truth is I get into my character. That's what it is. You know what I mean? So I understand. I understand what it's supposed to do, but I love the idea of it. And very quickly, once the word had kind of got out, and I remember this clearly, Leeds City Council had asked me to do something in what was the Leeds markets at the time, and it was actually in Kirkgate, in the bottom half of Kirkgate. And I remember they said, "Oh, could we just take some footage of you walking up and down, you know, in the house and stuff?" So I'm, you know, ringing my bell, shouting out "Merry Christmas." There were a group of young boys. I remember one of them asked me if I knew any hip hop or rap and stuff, and I remember saying to them, I didn't know much, but we can do a little beat. So we got a beat going, and then these two other boys started rapping, and then the camera was capturing all of this now. bear in mind, I go away at Christmas. I always do, right? For the last 6 years, as soon as it gets to a certain time, I'm off. So I planned to go away at Christmas. So I recorded this, and it came up on the BBC site. And all of a sudden, I was getting phone calls and messages, wanting to know more. And I remember thinking, this is interesting at the time, but I'm going away, so I'm off to Tenerife to get in the sun, you know, because Rasta Claus needs the sun,
of
you know what I mean?
course,
You've got to have the sun, right? So I got, and even when I was away, the BBC rang me up for a live interview over the air.
Wow.
Right? So but what got me with that is I realised it captured some imagination. I could see that from what people were writing on some of the social media things. And I think that was the first time I thought, actually, I might do this a bit more often. So this is the third year of doing it. Again, you know, great results. I mean, I've had the sublime to ridiculous, really. I was in the Merrion Centre in Leeds doing a big event pre-Christmas. Big on stage, brass band playing, you know, loads of that kind of things going on. But also, I went to Prince Philip Sports Centre, which is just the other side of Cheltenham and Scott Halls, presenting things to some of the people who young people who work in the sports, who play sports there. And I realised it didn't matter where I was, the same joys come with it. You know what I mean? I take the same pride in doing what I do and where I do it. And I think as long as I'm around, I think I will do that because I enjoy that part of it. You know what I mean? It's not about presents, and you know, I kind of avoid a lot of that. This is making young people feel good, indulging in a myth in a way. I always laugh and think, Santa comes down the chimney. It's a pretty fat guy to come down the chimney. You know what I mean? Come in fairness, you know what I mean? Right? And I always laughed and joked and said, can you imagine me, right, coming out, right, somebody's chimney with a big bag with swagger. Right? I think I'd be arrested on sight, right, in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? They're going to arrest me. Well, of course they will. So it's just, you know, it's that idea of what it is. But I have embraced how it makes people feel. And I've had, this year, I've had repeat visits. So there's been children who've asked their parents if they can come and see Rasta Claus. Right?
That's just beautiful.
Yeah, and that's really touched me. This year they gave me a job. I really enjoyed this part. I had to go and deliver some advent calendars at certain houses, right? So it was all in the evening, so it was dark already. I'd jump out of the van, all in my regalia. And as in some cases I'm walking up to the door, a child might be looking out the window and you can see that impact on their face, you know. Oh my God, Rasta Claus coming to the door. And obviously this has been arranged by the parents and stuff. But again, I got that real buzz of doing something that I love and seeing that look, you know.
What an honour.
Yeah. It is. For you to be invited into a young person's life that way.
It's something so important.
Yeah, massively so. And I, you know, like I said, I took, and I take a lot of pride in how that works and what I see with it. Thankfully, it's just about 6 weeks in a year because that would do my head.
Let's do it all year round.
I'll go back to play music really because that's what I love, you know. But I do enjoy it, and I think as the years have gone on, I've tried to increase the profile do a little bit more. And in fact, next year, I have two daughters who are in theatre, actresses and theatre makers. And we were discussing the idea of Rasta Claus the musical.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. It was really, so they're writers in their own right. And in fact, one of my daughters has just come back from New York from doing a show and stuff. And the other one's been on television, and she's a deputy director at a stage school. So we've been talking about this idea of increasing the the kind of profile, but doing, like I said, doing a Rasta Claus musical, which would, again, because it's music, it would, you know, that's perfect for me in many ways. But there's plans of how that, you know, whether that actually happens or when that happens is not of as much interest as the idea that there is this thing,
Yeah.
and this is what it is, and maybe one day that's what we'll do. But maybe we'll do something like that one day.
That would be absolutely brilliant. I would love to see that.
Rasta Claus the musical. I'll just get around in a bobsleigh. So he does. He's around in a bobsleigh, especially in those cold places all the time.
We always ask our guests, could you tell us something that you think is great about Leeds?
Well, there's lots of things. I think one of the things in particular, I was thinking on this, is the musical diversity in the city. So I busk a lot, and I've had the privilege of being on the street and watching buskers of all different ills and different types. And because we have an international music college, and the students come from all over the world to come study here, the first blues band that I played in, the drummer was a guy called Jeff Bush, who's gone back to the States now, but he was so instrumental. He come from America to study at the music college, and I through him also I met a guitarist called Eddie Roberts, who's the new Master Sounds, who are they're world famous, really incredible guys now. Eddie had come from Wales. And that doesn't seem far away, but he was a Welsh-speaking young Welshman and came here and made such an impact. And I remember seeing him play at the old Town and Country Club Underground and just being mesmerised by these guys playing. And little did I know, 10 years later, I'd have the opportunity to, perform with him for a while. We toured for a while, in fact. But yeah, I think for me, a lot is the musical diversity in the city. Yeah. There are different flavours here, and if you want to make a good pot of food, you need different flavours. Yeah. That's my idea, and that's what we have in the city, and that's, I know it's on a musical scale. Yeah. One of the other things I have to say is that if you're in Leeds and you look up, you see some of the most beautiful, grandest architecture building you'll see anywhere, and that's another thing I love about seeing, looking up. So I always encourage people all the time, because we tend to have this habit, everyone's a bit like this and walking, or a bit like that, and so if we look up, there's something to enjoy. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah. And could you tell us something that you think is not so great about the city? Our ongoing treatment of people without homes. Yeah. And I don't even want to call them homeless, because I've been in a position where I didn't have my own home. I didn't have to sleep on the street, but I didn't have my own home. Mm-hmm. And as a musician going out to play, I've noticed the increase of it. I've been homeless with a family. Oh. So there's something in my heart that looks at this in a whole different way. And the fact that there's an increase, when there is so much emphasis from a political standpoint on our nation's wealth and all those things, that it's a damning indictment on all of us. It is. It's honestly, I'm including myself totally in this, right? It's an absolute indictment. In this day and age, that we've got people in that position in this city, which it wasn't that long ago we were going to be the city of culture, right? And I know that whole thing's kind of fallen through with whole European issues that go on. But I remember the promo stuff for the city of culture was quite big, and one of my daughters worked on it, so there is no slighting of that. But on the other side of that, all that presentation of the city with all that has to offer, there is that other side. And now I'm aware that people can be moved on by the police and by ones in different ways. And I've heard this said a couple of times, when I've mentioned something like that, people say, oh, well, but there's some people out there scamming and you can work. And I say to them, well, you know what? I can't talk about the ones who are the scammers, but I do know there's some that are not. So I'm not lumping them in. No, you're right. With anyone else, that's not a good enough argument for me. No, it isn't. So I on occasions used to take my choir out on instead of having rehearsal in on a Tuesday. Sometimes, particularly in the winter, I would take them out to sing on the street to assist some of the people who are doing the food and all this kind of thing, to make their job a little bit lighter. And I do know a couple of people who were involved with that. that element of it. But in particular, like I said, watching this happen on what I'm going to say is my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm out on the street playing and I see this, and the amount of times I've been treated with so much love and respect. I've had guys who are homeless who've come and brought me coffee or water, right? I'll say, can I get you something, mate? Because I'm singing and playing, and they'll say, oh, you made my day.
Yeah.
You're doing that. And I've, again, taken that, pretty much to my heart and realised I have a part to play here too. So, yes, I am out there earning money as I do, because that's a part of what I do. But I can't ignore the great effect it has, and why another reason why I do it, particularly in the winter, when I can't imagine that anyone would want to be out. We've lost a couple of people over a couple of years, and I'm aware of this. And I can't believe in winter somebody would want to be on the street.
No, nobody would want to do that. Nobody's doing that to scam anyone.
I can't register that one. No. I can't do it.
I think it's a lovely thing that Simon on the Streets have done, where they've started putting up blue plaques.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It humanises these people. It makes you think this was a person who had a family who fell through the gaps, and let's remember their life.
I've seen that. It's beautiful that you mentioned that, because I have a friend who, she's got a terminal illness, right? So she's got a finite amount of time, as does her daughter, who she cares for, right? And yet still this woman is out on the street on a Tuesday, despite all... In fact, I met them. I went out one Halloween and it was cold. I remember I was playing on Briggate, and they came across and asked me if I wanted a coffee. And I was like, oh wow, that was such a... And then I remember singing a song for them, and then we were engaged at that point, and they were really my gateway to understanding what was happening here. And when I found out about this woman, Candy Nicholson, and the position she was in life, and yet still she would sacrifice that to go out on the street on a Tuesday to do for, she'd get food and clothes and beds, and she documents stories, same thing, saying this person here that I did, I worked with them, and now they've got their flat and they moved in, and I just think, wow, you know what, I've been there for a year, for a bit more than a year. I didn't have a home. So I did have a place to sleep, I had family, and I was staying in this guy's loft, but I didn't have a place of my own. It actually affected my health. Yeah, I bet. And I didn't realise the effect it had on my health until I ended up in hospital, not last October, the October before. And it was only only a week, a long week. But when I look at what led to me being there, it was the underlying thing was stress. Yeah. There was a level of stress in my life and not having a home. The difference with having home and a place and a base to operate from has changed everything for me massively. So,
and it's something you can take for granted, isn't it?
Oh, well, now I know. Now, that's something that I looked at. But the thing that, if you ask me about what's not great, then that's the thing that brings real sadness to my heart more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that we've got so many people who are out there helping.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, without
that's fantastic, but it's awful that anybody should ever have to be in that position in the first place. Our
city is an affluent city,
it is.
Right? We can't deny that.
No.
You know what? We walk around, there are more people in town now. There are more, I don't know how much more consumerism we can get involved in, but there are people constantly buying stuff, right? All the time in town. So if that's the case, right, and this city's profile is raised, or a big company's moving towards, Leeds, this is opening up, that's opening up. Yeah. I'm thinking, what? All of that? And we've got more people. Surely that should mean less people on the street rather than more,
It should trickle down, but does it?
It's going the other way. So something, again, I'm not here for a political argument, because I'm not even sure about who's in power.
No, it's society.
It's too easy. But I've done that too. As politicians, well, actually, you know what? We're all part of this game. I don't. I'm not here to point my finger at this company or these. I remember when there were in the 70s when we had power cuts and strikes and stuff, and when we had Labour government, they were complaining, and we had Conservative government, they were complaining, and for all the hope and aspirations of what we think our politicians bring us, the general thing is the real changes in society have come via people. Quite often organisations or individuals who've broken a nail. It's very rare that the politicians have led something. Yeah, you're right. For a change. Maybe the last time somebody's led something with change was probably the NHS. It's probably the last time that something was. Yeah, you're right. You can look at society and say, "Wow, that was a massive turnaround." Somebody said to me the other day, what about the campaign for not smoking? And I said, that's great, but the truth is our government along with were advocating it for years too.
Yeah, because they made a lot of money on it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I can't turn around and all of a sudden now and say, well, I'm praising them for what they've done. Yeah. You know what I mean? The truth is it's been destructive to our health, and they were the ones that allowed it in the first place. Exactly. So, but yeah, I do think that changes happen in our society. They come through individuals quite often, or movements, within the swell of people, and I'm believing that if there's going to be a turnaround in that particular field, then it will be because people care. Yeah. And we're seeing that, like I said, Sam the Streets, there's other organisations who realise that.
Yeah, and they go out and do their bit, don't they?
I do love it.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And if somebody was a long-term resident of Leeds, could you tell them anything that you think is a hidden gem that they might never have heard of?
Hidden gem, yeah. I was thinking about this one. So, a few years ago, when before my mum died, she'd had a couple of strokes, so she was in a wheelchair for a while. And I remember getting her around to places just kept slightly more difficult. I had to consider what I was doing. And my mum loved water, but I couldn't often get her to the sea. It wasn't guaranteed. And I used to work for the council many moons ago, and one of the sites they had was at Woodlesford. And at the time they were just working on the site, so I had no idea. And my job was to check what had been hired and make sure the stuff was on site. And I ended up going to Woodlesford. Never been there in my life. I didn't even know that sadly did exist, to be honest. Yeah. And I got there, and there were locks at Woodlesford. There's a canal running through, and I'd never been there. And I thought, wow, this place is just like a little haven away. So the main road's there, the motorway's not far off and everything, but this was just drawn away. And I remember I used to take my mum occasionally, just go out there, just without jail, we just wheel down. Now, bear in mind, it's not an open expanse of water, it's just, it's canal with the locks and stuff. But there was a little walk along there. There's a little insect sanctuary too and stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't describe why, but there was something about that place that drew me, and I felt automatically peaceful when I got there. And I've been there many times. I remember going once on a Sunday, and there were people doing woodwork and little bits along there. Yeah. Just so I would say to anyone, if you hadn't been there, Woodlesford Lock is just a lovely place to just go and spend some time. Yeah. I said to you, you don't have to. You have to. Sometimes someone say, "Well, what would there be to go and see?" But what I'd say to someone is, just go and feel. You don't have to see anything.
Yeah, just go and be.
Yeah, just go and be there. Yeah, just something about that place. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll discover what it is. I don't know. But I love the sea and I love waters. Yeah. It's a default go-to thing. But like I said, this is not an open expanse. It's just an area. There's barges parked on it. It's really peaceful. Yeah. And it feels like I've gone there sometimes when I've been troubled about something, to allow those ripples to move a little and smooth out, so I can feel my way through something, and I'd recommend it to anyone.
That's lovely. We'll definitely have to go and have a visit there. We always include a track by a Leeds band or artist, but this week I know that you have supplied the track. Can you tell me a little bit about it and who does the track? Right, so the story is my first ever student was a young man called Joe McGrath. Joe, I met him at rock school as a part of he was a student in this thing that went on during the holidays for young musicians, and I just done a vocal workshop for 1 hour with him,
And I can't remember if he asked for my details then, but I remember not long afterwards his mum contacted me and asked me if I did lessons and stuff. And the truth is, at that time I wasn't. I had no intention because I didn't want to be tied to the idea of having to teach. I'm spoiled. That's why I'm spoiled. Really spoiled kid. Yeah. So I tried to put them off a little bit. I was deflecting it because I thought, where am I going to teach him? What am I going to do? I'd never had people coming to my home, for that reason. So I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. But his mum kept on at me, and eventually I gave it. The truth is, I gave it. And I remember I had my lessons at All Brass and Woodwind, which is a music shop in town, opposite Northern Ballet, in fact. And I remember thinking, right, I'm going to hire this place, so there's that cost to consider, plus the cost of teaching and everything. And I thought, right, I'm setting the fee. I'm sure this will be too much, which would mean that they won't do it then. They'll have to teach. Well, silly me, really. Lo and behold, they said yeah, and I had roughly about 5 years with Joe. Probably 4 actually, thinking about it. But a bit of teaching, and having come and perform at some events that I was playing. And all this time, this extremely talented young man who was writing songs at 11, 12 already, right? Playing in a rock band with guys who were 4 and 5 years his senior. So that says something about his ability as a musician, but also the fact that he was respected by all the guys enough to join the band. Most people wouldn't have a young guy in their band, we're all 16-year-olds or whatever it is. So the fact that he had those skills already, he'd really stood out. As part of his learning, I took him with my choir to perform at a couple of festivals where he sang, he sang solo with the choir and stuff like that. The idea was to get that feel of, what it was like to be a musician. I watched his voice breaking change. So he'd become a young man from being a young lad. I remember at that point, I remember saying, right, at this point, I'm going to have to kind of leave you a little bit because you've got a new voice now and you're going to have to work your way into it. He eventually went on to Manchester Music College in Manchester, where he did, I think he was doing, it was like a pop music concert. He's a particularly good writer, and that was very obvious from quite early. He graduated last year, I think it was, and then I know he was doing little projects, and then not long ago he sent me a track, and I first of all I was massively proud to watch this journey of this young man. The first thing I had, go on and do something which was in his heart from being a young man. Yeah. But I listened to the track and I was so blown away with what I was listening to, the feel of it, his musicality. He's become a multi-instrumentalist now, so he plays a bit of drums, a bit of keyboard, plays bass, guitar. But his voice has always been the thing that always stood out to me, even way back then. And listen to this rich, bluesy voice now, but still with some of that. There are elements, he's still got that childlike character in it. And once you're hearing them and this when he's singing, and he's created a band called Masi Masi. And the song was called Miss You When You're Gone. And if anyone wants to find it, I know it's out on some of the social medias on Spotify and things like that, but I would definitely think it would be worthwhile checking these guys out. They do some local things. But in particular, because the journey of watching this journey of this young man come from being a boy with a dream to a man fulfilling it, I can't think of anything that brings me as much joy. So as much as I love the track, it's also my connection to everything that's with it. Why I'd like to play that track. I'm
really looking forward to hearing it. Thank you so much for coming along and being a guest.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I know I'm long-winded. You might have to edit it 1,000 times over. But yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share these things.
I'm so looking forward to seeing your involvement in Blackwater.
I'm excited. I'm majorly excited. I actually went to a rehearsal yesterday for the February promo. Just the stuff, the dance. I watched the dancers, and they were moving me with their movement.
Yeah.
actually came out of the room. I actually said to one of the guys who was doing one of the choreographers in there, this has actually upped everything for me.
Yeah.
Made me even want to work harder with what I'm doing. Really,
well, I can't wait to see it.
Promise you. Incredible.
Thank you so much and see you soon.
Pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
What's happening in this great city? We'll tell you. But wait a minute.
Well, I really enjoyed talking to Cleve and very much I'm looking forward to seeing his involvement in Black Waters at the Playhouse next month. Cleve chose a track by an ex-student of his. The track is called Miss You When You're Gone by the Masi Masi Band. Enjoy!
Like a liar when I love you. See the look in your eyes like I do. You say you know me, but girl, do I know you? Open up and I'll show you love. Show you love. I miss you when you're gone, and I love you when I'm alone, and I need you when I need you, and I wish you needed me too. 'Cause I miss you when you're gone, and I love you when I'm alone, and I need you when I need you, and I wish you cigarette, but she's vain, too good to say she knows me yet. But she does know me. She does know me still. On my mind, there you are again. I bet you wish you didn't know me so well. Didn't know me so well. Bet you wish you didn't know me so well. And I bet you wish you didn't know me so well. 'Cause I bet you wish you didn't know me so well. 'Cause I tell you, I wish I didn't know you so